This question that I'm going to solve is going to be a Cobb-Douglas utility function. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, have this question with something which is known as a reference point. I'll shortly show you what this looks like. Now this question is going to be one of many, by which I mean that, I'm going to do, there are going to be 4 to 5 parts of this question that I'm going to solve, and this is part 1 of this question. So, let's try and see what happens in this question. Now, the question says the following. You have a utility function, u as a function of x1, x2, r1. And the utility function is given by x1 minus r1 to the power alpha, x2 minus x2 to the power beta. Now it says that alpha plus beta is equal to 1. Alpha is between 0 and 1. Beta is between 0 and 1. R1 is greater than 0. It also tells you that x1 is greater than equal to R1 and x2 is greater than equal to 0. All this is given to you, okay? It also tells you that x1, good x1, is an additive good, something that I've already explained as part of the lecture. What are additive goods? So good 1 is an additive good is an addictive good, something that I've already explained. And it tells you that the level of addiction is R1. What does this mean? This means that you will at least consume R1 units of the good, or more than that. At least R1 will be consumed because you're addicted to that goods. Examples of addictive goods, sorry for, saying that as additive. Example of addictive goods are like alcohol, drugs, even chocolates for some people. So addictive goods are goods where you kind of consume a minimum amount of that good at least. Okay, so if you see, I'm saying x1 is greater than or equal to r1, which means at least r1 units of the good will be consumed, and in that sense it's an addictive good. Okay, now the more you have consumed these goods, the higher the addiction level becomes. So slowly, suppose suppose you start smoking, with time this x1 keeps on increasing, your addiction for smoking keeps on increasing. So this is a classic example of a utility function where one of the goods is an addictive good. Now, the first question that I'm supposed to, that we should solve is, how does the utility function change as R1 changes? This is a simple question, and let's see how do we solve this. So ideally, what this question is asking you is the following. It is asking you, how does the utility change when R1 changes, right? So you just have to differentiate this function, and after differentiating this function, you just have to tell me whether utility is increasing or decreasing. So just think of this. Suppose you have got used to drinking a lot of alcohol, okay? Then what happens when you get additional alcohol? That is what it is asking in a way. Any desire to drink one more bottle of alcohol, what would that do? So very simple. Let's try and let's solve this mathematically. So utility is given as x1 minus r1 to the power alpha, x2 to the power beta. Del u, by del R1 will be given by alpha x1 minus R1 to the power alpha minus 1 into x to the power beta. Now, what I have done is the following. Just understand this. I am differentiating this function with respect to, and I also have minus 1 by the way here. I am differentiating this function with respect to R1 because supposedly I ask you differentiate x minus y to the power 4 with respect to y, something like this. So what do? You first of all, because something is in the power, you bring the power down and reduce the power by 1, and then whatever is inside the bracket is again differentiated. So you're differentiating this with respect to y and then this with respect to y, right? So you first take care of the power, and then whatever is inside the power, you differentiate that in itself, right? So this is what I have done here. So my alpha goes down, x1 minus r1 to the power alpha minus 1 into minus 1 into x2 to the power beta. Now very carefully I will solve this. Very slow by slow we'll go, and let's see what happens. See, this becomes minus alpha, right? x1 minus r1 to the power alpha minus 1 into x2 to the power beta. Now, I know that it is given to me that alpha is between 0 to 1. So, I know that 1 minus I know that alpha is between 0 to 1. So, I know that alpha minus 1 will be less than 0. So, which means this power that I have right here, this is negative. Because this power is negative, so it's like saying x to the power minus 4. Whenever you write like this, can't you write this as 1 by x to the power 4? So exactly something that I'll do here, I'll say minus alpha into x2 to the power beta upon x1 minus r1 to the power 1 minus alpha. So this is negative. I'll just take this negative. So, alpha minus 1 is nothing but minus of 1 minus alpha. And because I'm getting negative of power, I will bring it down. So I will get this down. Now, understand that x1 was greater than r1. So this thing is positive. Positive to the power, whether this power is positive, negative, it cannot be negative, now it is positive, odd, or even, because this is positive, it will be positive. This is also positive. So this entire term is actually positive. Very simple mathematics that this entire term is positive. Similarly, alpha is given to me positive. So that's also positive. So this is positive. This part is positive. So this entire thing is positive, but I have a negative sign right here. So, negative into positive becomes negative. This entire term becomes negative. Because this term becomes negative, the answer to this question is that del u by del r1 is less than 0. The intuition here is that as the reference point, is a bad good. Why is it a bad good? Because it's an addictive good, right? It gives you addiction. So as the reference point is a bad good, higher reference point is associated with lower levels of utility. Now just understand this more carefully. So it's like saying the following. Suppose there is this normal person. And suppose there is this person who is an alcoholist or a druggist. Now, if I give 3 bottles of beer to this person, he would be happy. Maybe. But if I give it to him, because he's already an alcoholist, and because for him, his reference is maybe 4 or maybe 5, this may act as very less amount. And in that case, this may be associated with lower level of utility. So an alcoholist is less happy after drinking 3 bottles of beer than someone with a normal drinking habit. So what we have seen therefore is that as the reference point increases, the additional utility that you get with every increase in the reference point, that's lower and lower, it decreases. Okay, that's the first part to this question.